Welcome to the Clemson Drone Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Burgett from Clemson University. Join me as I dive into the world of drone technology and explore its impact through the eyes of industry leaders. Hear how drone technology directly supports public agencies, private companies, and entrepreneurs from those leading the innovation. If you're a seasoned UAS program manager or just getting into the game, this is a place to learn from the best to help your program soar to new heights. Make sure you subscribe now on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss a single episode of the Clemson Drone Podcast. At Clemson Drone, the sky is not the limit, it's just the beginning. All right, hello everybody. This is Joe Burgett with Clemson University. I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Clemson Drone Podcast. As you heard in the trailer, this is a podcast really dedicated to speaking with those that are leading this innovation, those that are in the public sector, maybe private companies or entrepreneurs that are successfully deploying this technology and using it to its full benefit, and having discussions with those folks so that everyone else that is in this industry can learn from, know their story, and just kind of improve their overall performance. Well, in that vein, I'm very, very pleased to be speaking with Chad Frerer. I hope I'm not butchering that last name. I told you on the pre-call that I'm terrible about that. Chad, did I do okay with that? Pretty close?
That's great, man. That's
okay.
Perfect.
Well, very good. Well, I got Chad here on the line, and he is an entrepreneur from the Mississippi area in the UAS space, doing a wide range of things with drone technology. And I just want to start off by, thank you, Chad, for carving out some time and speaking with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Okay, well, good deal. Well, let's dive right in here. And why don't you kind of give us a little bit of background, talking about your background before you got into the drone industry?
My background is heavy IT, information security, and things of that nature. In the past 20 years, a lot of my jobs have been to find verticals for other companies, maybe disrupt current industry with things that fit their verticals, whatnot. And how I got in the drone industry is we were looking at some precision agriculture applications, and it's easy. We could learn a lot with the sensors that are available today through UAS. And that's what led me to your Clemson class and to get the basics down, to get legal, to understand the FAA, and to better understand UAS in general.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, let's kind of like dive into your company a little bit. The name of your company is Autonomous Imagery of Mississippi. I think you go by AIM. Is that right?
It's easy. Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit easier there. No, I get that. And you, the company is fairly new, right? How long have you guys been in business?
It's very new. We probably, I would say, we're in a little bit over our first year.
Okay, very good. And you're based in Mississippi, but where is your overall territory?
Oh, wow. We get called to middle of Arkansas. We'll be all over Alabama coming into 24, Mississippi. I mean, northwest, northeast. I mean, it's wherever we're needed. That's the beautiful thing about those bags in the back of your screen. That we can go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's kind of dive into that a little bit too. Like, so what are the services that you do? What are the clientele that you work with, and what value are you being hired to provide for them?
Our proposition is a little bit different. One thing I've noticed quickly when we got into your photogrammetry and we started working with precision point clouds is at the end of the day, we're capturing reality. And a lot of folks wanted, hey, we need a topo. Hey, we need, an ortho. And when we saw what they were doing with our work, we sat down with a few of them and said, hey, not only can your engineers use this, but your marketing people can use this, for your 3D reconstructions, for your presentations, for, or communicating with your community of, hey, this is what we're doing for you. This is what we're doing with your tax dollars. And not just a 2D picture, a rendering, but a full immersive 3D, change the weather, put kids in here to get ideas out of their head. And excited as they were for the projects, we wanted to transfer that energy to the people that were, on the fit, not knowing what was going on. And that's one of the best ways with 3D technology. So you've already bought the data that we've captured. Let me show you how to use it with Unreal Engine and shoot a little virtual movie. And it's been really cool to see how that's transformed, sped projects up, blown budgets up, everybody get behind it, the community gets involved, all the way to when we look at work sites, hey guys, not only can you see, your cut and fills and things of that nature, but look at the, slope of these roads. They get beat up every day. You have these big trucks hauling aggregate all day. After a certain degree of slope, you've got to be losing efficiency on fuel, burning up clutches, things of that nature. You can measure the world around you at all times now and stop these things before they start. It's a new way of just looking at everything holistically, because now, again, since we capture reality to a certain, level of detail on a very, very, high frequency, you can see and stop things before they start issues. Yeah.
So, well, we'll jumping in there. So, what are I guess I got several questions on this, but let's start off with the who your clients are. Like without, you don't have to name names specifically, but who are some of your use cases, or not use cases, but the target clients that you're working with?
Oh, wow. I mean, target for me is anybody that wants to push hard and take this to the limit. So, okay, we can start with one. They are a large steel manufacturing entity in the United States, growing on a rapid clip, and they're constantly expanding. And what started out is, hey, we just want a Navisys, which is kind of a 3D planning software similar to Civil 3D and things of that nature. We want our buildings in 3Ds because we want to be able to if we want to put a dock door in, we want to be able to have rapid R&D. I was like, that's great. But I was like, one thing I noticed getting in here, it's high security. Everybody has to go through, including the trucks, a security checkpoint, and all the buildings look the same. And there's not really signs. Why not we do this reconstruction? You guys use it for that, but why not we create our own software or your own software that's like Google Maps, or just for your site, so everybody has this app and they know exactly where to go. You know where all the humans are. The visitors don't need to be on these roads, so it's not going to take you on those roads. We say if I need to see Joe Blow in building 3E, it routes him on the appropriate road to get there. Or if there's a truck coming through to deliver to one of the buildings, it keeps him on the appropriate road and takes him straight to the dock door. You see what I'm saying? If we're going to do these high level 3D models, let's get as much out of it. And logistically, things like that are just blow people's minds.
What are the actual, the file types or the physical deliverables that you're transferring over to them? Because it sounds like there's a lot more than just LiDAR and point clouds and models and meshes.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing. I sure ortho, of course, TIFFs and LAS files and things of that nature, surfaces. But what we take it a step further, since we have the software engineering background, Esri is
Hmm.
they're just great,
Yeah,
if I'm saying that correctly.
you are. Yeah.
I went to Colorado and sat down with their people and talked about a lot of the things that we're going to do for hospitals and things like that. So we take our garbage in, garbage out. We take our super sharp, 3D reconstructions, pull that in, classify the roads, and do what we have to do, and then deliver that in an iOS, or APK for Android, or a web app, for that specific customer. The positives are, we can talk here all day about routing people, but now they know where all the humans are. So if somebody gets off track, security knows
Right.
it's dangerous. Or if there's a fire in building 3, click a button, push notification to everybody in that building, leave. You know, the it's information and logistic control. So it's hard to say what the outputs are. We just deliver a shiny finished product, I guess you could say.
Right, right, right. Now, you mentioned a lot about LiDAR and photogrammetry and all like the Esri products and in that vein. But I did a quick look at your website. You do a lot of thermography work. Is that right?
Not as much as I'd like to. We have one just so we know. I took your thermography class, and honestly, everybody needs to take that. All of us who think we know what we're doing with our hunting scopes, shooting hogs,
Mhm.
we don't really worry about emissivity
Right.
or things of that nature, but we'd like to get more into it.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, it's a lot more than red hot, blue cold, or the old Predator movies from the '80s, right?
Oh
It's not
man.
that.
Oh man. That's my first thing is like if you say heat, you need to call Clemson and take this course because a lot of folks want to get into it. But there are a couple solar farms over here, but it's not something we've been just so pummeled, with work in the 3D space, but we have the ability with radiometric stuff if we ever needed it. I have it just in case if our small community has a missing person or if they need, come get my drone, I'll fly it for you, whatever we need, because it is a
Right.
force multiplier. Save the baby, find the kids, I don't care.
Right, right, right. Well, so a lot of the folks that are going to be listening to this are going to be entrepreneurs, and they want to start their own business and be successful like you have. So, a couple questions about that. One is, and this is probably the leading one that I get a lot, is how do you find clients? How do they go about? They've got the class, they got the education, they got the equipment. How do they go get clients?
I'm very, very old school. I beat on doors. I
Hmm.
don't care how old I am or how successful things are. it keeps you young and it keeps you hungry. And I would just walk, I'd Google Maps or whatever, research, construction management companies, things of that nature, and just go sit and talk and show.
Oh,
And it's just the old way of doing things. And you'd be surprised. We had an engineering firm hit immediately and say, okay, we got 300 acres. We need to know what's going on under these trees. And I said, say no more. And 300 acres for them. The old school was falling down the hill, getting bit by snakes in the summertime in Mississippi. And I came out there and ripped it in 2 hours and had a deliverable in a day and a half. And I got invited to the barbecue that weekend.
relationships. That is like the common theme. Well, I mean, again,
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull on that thread a little bit more. So again, these are some folks that are wanting to learn from your success, and they're saying, okay, Chad's telling me to go knock on a door. So if I do that, I go to let's just say a construction trailer or whatever, and I knock on the door. What advice would you give them? What advice would you give someone to be able to help relay the message of the value that drone tech has, and how the person that might be in front of them is the person that can provide that service?
Start with the basics. Be competent. Take a course such as yours. Understand GSD. Be repeatable. And then, when you have your skills up and your equipment's decent, you can, you can provide consistent result. When you walk in there, do as much information gathering as you can, and people are going to be put off by it because a short timeline here. 2015, the drones didn't have enough battery, the sensors were heavy, no go. 2017, okay, now we can stay up. But our sensors weren't there, and a lot of people in 2017 tried this and they got burned.
Hmm.
So now here we are coming back through with the same story. Some folks are going to be put off by it. Hold their hand. You're there to help them, and actually you work for the surveyor, and you're not going to compete with them. Just say, I'm here to help you.
Hmm.
I'm here to take that load off of you. And, instead of taking 2 jobs a year because of all the logistics of the people on the ground, take 5. And you tell me where to go. You set them up, I'll knock them down, and we'll just roll. And that's been one of the biggest pieces of advice is, you work for them. A lot of the guys come in and show, we're going to change your life, da 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 da. It's not like that. Find their points of pain, figure out how you can wrap your product around it, what makes yourself different, and go with that angle. And then you'll grow with them, because you're probably going to wow them, and you're going to say, well, we can do this with this same product that you've already purchased, this data. Why don't you think about using it like this? It just understand what you do. When I say capture reality, that is so important, because once you understand that, you've got tree canopy height. I mean, you have forestry products. You have so many things that you're observing in a non-destructive way, Keith.
Right.
That people don't think about.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I mean, I tell some of my 20-something-year-old college kids to, they're great and I love them, but I tell them be humble. I mean, you may have some skills and you might be great, but there's other folks out there that may not recognize that, and you got to prove yourself. And humility is always a good place to start. And I love what you said about looking for partnership and ways to make them look good, because again, the technology is going to wow, especially those that maybe not be familiar with it or know all of its capabilities. But if you can approach them from a place of humility, as a place of, not in a threatening place, but a place of, hey, let me help you do better and be better. And those pain points, as you described, that you don't want to do, let me remove those. I love that place, that attitude with it. Well, what other advice might you have for someone who, again, wants to be and pursue this entrepreneurial type of drone business? And again, I know you may have a little bit more of a background, especially with your IT background before getting into drones. But let's just say that you didn't have that, or you're speaking with someone that doesn't have years and years of a background in technology. They've got some knowledge. They understand thermography. They understand photogrammetry. So they've got some knowledge. What are some things that you might advise them as a side business, or even maybe a full-time business, of where to start? What services they should provide, or start with. The hardware they might want to purchase in terms of capital investments. Where would you advise someone to start?
I would say, first understand this. There's an inverse relationship between the barrier to entry, UAS in general, FAA regs, and data complexity. As time goes on, this stuff is only going to get cheaper, easier to use, and people are going to do it themselves. Focus on your deliverable, your data, and your value. And what we did is I attached myself immediately to the county surveyor, the main guy that's been doing this for old military helicopter pilot, and he was expert witness for all land disputes, and he had no problem telling me if I was wrong. And I learned more about GPS, ellipsoid, geoids, and all the important
Mm-hmm.
things of tying my data to the ground from that man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm forever indebted to him. But find somebody that can be your partner and help you prove it out. In the end, if you do prove it out, he's going to help you get into a lot of doors. But it also validates you. Going into hardware, this is the scary part.
Mm-hmm.
The first word in my name is autonomous, because that's where we're going.
Right.
We already have plans for boxes and autonomy and for a lot of our clients in 24. Get ready for that. Secondly, be careful of YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. There is a lot of snake oil out there. There's a reason Regal, they're a LiDAR manufacturer. There's a reason they're the best. There's a
Mm-hmm.
reason they'll always be the best. DJI's L2 is shaking things up. It's pretty wicked machine. But just do your research. Do your research, and then have a heart to heart to say, we will probably use this machine a lot this year, because you got to ROI, you got to pay that thing off, and don't put to market in the ground. Don't, if somebody's going to come out there and do something for peanuts, they're not going to be there next year. Do your research, your market research, stick to your guns, provide a quality product, be a relationship person, and I always try to provide more than what they think they're getting, if that makes sense.
Right. Now that thing that you just mentioned about market research, and that's so true. Do you have any help or guidance that you might offer somebody about how they actually do that market research, and acknowledging that everything is different, every location is different, but maybe some high level principles that work with you?
What worked for me best is everything is different depending on where you're at. There's market saturation and other places that I don't have to deal with in my area. Now it will be there. It's coming for me. With that said, get to know your people you're trying to sell to. When I walked into one of the biggest construction companies in the Southeast, I wanted to listen more than I talk.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
I know my product, I know my capabilities, and I want to see their workflows and see if I can help them in any of their workflows instead of just coming in there and saying, hey, we're going to map for you, we're going to do topos for you, yada, yada, yada. I mean, I want to sit down and see, what's your takeoff process? Tell me more about this. It's a personable thing, because at the end of the day, the working relationship, once you get them started on this road, y'all are going to call each other a lot, and you're going to talk about a lot of things, and it's going to lead into more things and things you didn't initially come into quote. It's just, you got to get in there.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people say that the relationship is king. I mean, this is sales, right? And a lot of people that are interested in drones are techie, and there's an aspect to it that they like. And sales is a relationship things, and those aren't necessarily consistent or correlated skill sets. But if you want to grow a business and be an entrepreneurial, I mean, you have to have those business skills. And what I have found is that even in a lot of different cases, it just comes with being a good guy, and talking to them, and then taking down notes about what's important to them. You said it, listening more than speaking, but when they start talking about things about their family, or their kids, or something they're interested in, have that meeting or whatever, write it down, and then make yourself a note that, hey, look, in 3 months ago, this guy said that he's really into XYZ thing. Well, they've got a XYZ, event coming up, and maybe you can send them an email, develop a reason to reach out to them that isn't necessarily sales driven, or at least not the intent of that email or the communication is not to, hey, buy, 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 buy. It's, hey, look, you have an interest in this. We had a conversation. We connected at a human level. I know you said you were interested. Here, this is something I learned about it. Here's a festival coming up about it. Here's an event. Did you know about this? And maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But it's a reason to have that touch point and develop the relationship, and then talk about something else, talk about something else, talk about something else. After a couple of times, you're, if not friend, colleague, or acquaintance. And when the topic of sales comes up again, there's more foundation there. I mean, you'd mentioned snake oil salesman. Well, there's only, you don't want to be that, or you don't want to even be, even though if you're not that, you don't want to be thought of as that. And the way that you dispel that, like I have found, is just by putting in the time and developing that relationship, and again, just having a lot of non-related business conversations before you ultimately do get to that business conversation. I mean, have you had success that way? Would you agree?
Yeah, you should be indispensable. For lack of a better term, you're going to be holding their hand into kind of I wouldn't say new, but a very, I guess, fringe for some of them, way of looking at their data, their job site, whatever it may be. You got to build trust up because
Mhm.
that's their baby, and
Yeah.
you're going to be providing data on it. So be indispensable. And the snake oil thing. The reason I said that, for every 10 sensors out there, there's 3 you need to really be looking at,
Mhm.
because at the end of the day, you have to be very careful. Do not outsource your core competency. Don't fly a drone and send your data off to somewhere and hope that they process it correctly. Know the number when you put the magic data in your black box that spits out a result. Know how it got there. Use ground control. Go over and beyond, because once it leaves your hands, it's got your name on it, and that's really all that matters.
Yeah, you're right. I love that word trust because that does build on, I mean, that is really the core of so many things. I mean, you can call it different things, reputation or whatever, but it does come back to that core concept of trust. Well, I have one more question I want to ask you as we kind of wrap things up here. But if you could go back in time, and this is always a great question, right? If you go back in time and do something different, but if you could speak to your younger self, and maybe just a year or two ago, but just right before you started your business in the UAS space, any advice that you would give yourself about something that you would do different, difference with the business, area to different market, anything like that that you might change?
This is going to be kind of different, but I would just say allocate more time. Because,
Mhm.
like I said at the beginning, this started out as a means to get geared up for something completely different. But we, through your class and some things that we've done, it actually picked up, and I didn't allocate time, and I had to say no a lot because we had other engagements. But we could have probably been a little bit farther ahead if I were able to take those things, because the weather doesn't always work for you. We had
Mm.
2 months of straight rain.
Mm.
It's different world than what I'm used to. But no, just like I said, do your research, and you're going to hear no a lot. No is not no. No is the opportunity to learn.
Mm.
Okay, no is the
Okay.
opportunity to understand why, and then you can understand more about how do I form better. How do I talk to this person differently? I welcome no. No is what I want to hear. Yes is yeah, get out of my face. Yeah, sure. We don't know. No is the beginning of a conversation.
Yeah, that's a really good way of looking at it. Well, Chad, thank you so much for carving out some time. Speaking of time, right? I know you're a busy guy, and I appreciate you carving a little bit of time to chat with us. For you guys that are listening to this as a call, hopefully you got something out of this. I'm going to make sure that we have Chad's company AIM in the show notes so you can check him out. And again, if this is something to your benefit, I really do encourage you just to like and subscribe on all of your podcast platforms. We're just trying to get this out of the ground, and we think we got something that really can provide value, and that really helps us if you do that with the old Apple and Google, all those algorithms. So thanks everybody for listening, carving out some time, and look forward to doing this again with the next episode. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Clemson Drone Podcast. Don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Learn more about our online training offerings by going to clemsondrone.com. Thanks again, and remember, at Clemson Drone, the sky is not the limit, it's just the beginning.